98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR and GorgeRadio.com presents the Mid-Columbia Today Show with Mark Bailey. Special thanks to our sponsors, Skyline Hospital, Eastside Paving, and Del Carpine Automotive. Now, here's Mark Bailey.
Good morning. Good morning. It's 8:05, Mid-Columbia Today. It is a Wednesday, the middle part of the week. Rain is supposedly coming later tomorrow and into Friday. Of course it comes for the weekend. You know, right now is when you want it to rain. You want it to rain in the middle of the week. Because that way, when the weekend's going on, you can enjoy it out there. But nonetheless, thank you for joining us, whether you're listening live or on our podcast, however you're doing it. Again, we're available at wherever you get your podcasts. We're on all the major distributors. So you can check us out and just have the show downloaded to you. If you miss it, you don't have to worry about it. But here's what we're doing this morning. Al Barton's here, Mid-Columbia Center for Living. Going to talk about Scott Hagee, Wasco County Commission Chair last week. Brought up during the course of just the County Commission meeting. MCCFL is in line for a OHA grant for a substance abuse treatment center, I believe it is, but Al's going to tell us all about that, what they're looking at. There are still plenty of steps to go through, as there always are in these things. Second half of the program, Julie Hester and Janelle Boreen from Washington Gorge Action Program is going to be in studio. They've got their big August fundraiser coming up for the Food for All fundraiser for their food bank. We'll talk about that event, and we'll talk about how things are going for food banks right now. It's not the easiest time for them, as you can imagine. So we will do all that on the show. But first, as we always do, let's tell you what this day has meant and what it means, at least to some people. We'll start out in 1509. Henry VIII was crowned King of England. His wife, Catherine of Aragon, was crowned Queen Consort. 1948, Communist forces cut off all land and water routes between West Germany and West Berlin, prompting the Western Allies to organize the Berlin Airlift. 1973, President Richard Nixon concluded a summit with the visiting leader of the Soviet Union, Leonid Brezhnev, who hailed the talks in an address on American television. This day in 1983, the Space Shuttle Challenger, carrying America's first woman in space, Sally Ride, coasted to a safe landing at Edwards Air Force Base in California. 1992, the Supreme Court, in a 5-4 decision, strengthened its 30-year ban on officially sponsored worship in public schools, prohibiting prayer as part of graduation ceremonies. 2010, in the first round of the Wimbledon Championships, American John Isner won the longest professional tennis match in history, defeating Nicolas Mahut of France 6-4, 3-6, 6-7, 7-6, 70-68. The match was played over the course of 3 days and lasted a total of 11 hours and 5 minutes. I believe since then they've changed the fifth set tiebreaker rules at Wimbledon to avoid just that. 2015, a federal judge formally sentenced Boston Marathon bomber Dzhokhar Tsarnaev to death for the 2013 terror attacks. A federal appeals court later threw out the sentence and the Supreme Court reinstated it. 2018, women in Saudi Arabia were allowed behind the wheel for the first time as the world's last remaining ban on female drivers was formally lifted. And this day 4 years ago, in Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization, the Supreme Court ruled 6-3 to remove constitutional protections for abortion that had been in place since 1973's Roe versus Wade. The days for today, don't have a lot of them, but it is celebration of the Senses Day today. It is Museum Comes to Life Day today. There are museums that have celebrations in regard to this. It's National Parchment Day today, which is just a fancier paper. It's Swim a Lap Day. So take a lap out there if you're at the pool. Which if you're at the pool, I imagine that's what you're there to do anyway, is swim. Swim a lap. I think that'd be kind of the whole point. And okay, I'm gonna be the cranky, cynical one here. It's World UFO Day today. No. Well, I think there's got to be something beyond this. I get that, that part. I just think it's arrogant of us to think that those life forms care that we are out here. There's something self-centered about it that apparently we're that interesting. I live here. I'm not sure we're that interesting. So there you go. I'm sorry. I'm not a believer. I just no. Area 51, fine, whatever. Food today. I feel almost the same way as I do about the people who believe in Sasquatch. That Sasquatch is real. No, it's not. Because if Bigfoot was out there, we'd have found him by now. We got cameras everywhere. We can find little microscopic insects. We'd have found Bigfoot by now. Somebody asked me to have an open mind about it. No, I'm not going to. I have an open mind about a lot of things, not that one. Finally, it's National Pralines Day today for dessert. So there you go. That's what I've got, which you probably want me to stop by now out there. It is 8:10 in the morning. We'll come back, talk about something important after this.
Do you want someone you can trust to do your auto body work, collision repair, or new paint job? Of course you do. So don't go to a franchise. Go to Jack's Body Shop and Rhino Linings of the Gorge. Jack's Body Shop and Rhino Linings of the Gorge is an authorized dealer of Rhino Lining spray-on protective bed liners. We're family-owned and have been in business since 1969. Jack's Body Shop and Rhino Linings of the Gorge. 621 East 2nd Street, downtown The Downs. 296-9170. JacksBodyShop.net. Jack's Body Shop and Rhino Linings of the Gorge.
Whether you're a student athlete, weekend warrior, or just love staying active, injuries can slow you down. I'm Dr. Stanley with Cascade Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Center. I'm the Gorge's first and longest practicing sports medicine fellowship-trained physician. I've helped athletes of all ages and professions get back to what they love since 2003. Please call 541-296-2294 or visit cosmc.org to schedule an appointment. Cascade Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Center, getting you back to being you.
Eastside Paving has a local team of professional paving experts ready to handle any size job for you. Eastside Paving's 35 years of experience provides the knowledge, procedures, and resources to ensure the job is done correct. Licensed, bonded, and insured in Oregon and Washington, Eastside Paving specializes in industrial, commercial, and residential jobs. Whether it's overlay, parking lots, private roads, patching, or driveway resurfacing, Eastside Paving has you covered. Call Rick Saran today for a free estimate. 503-519-6478. EastsidePaving.com. CCB 68962.
In the heart of every love story lies a symbol of commitment, a promise that transcends time. Discover the essence of eternal love at J.D. Smith Jewelers. Our engagement rings are more than just diamonds and gold. They're whispers of forever, captured in every gleam and sparkle. Let us guide you in finding the perfect ring to express your love, your devotion, your forever. Visit J.D. Smith Jewelers today, where every ring tells a story of endless love and cherished moments. J.D. Smith Jewelers, where dreams become forever. Located at 121 East 2nd Street, downtown The Dalles. Begin your forever today.
Mid-Columbia Today is a public affairs program of Bicoastal Media Columbia River, 98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR and GorgeRadio.com. Now, back to Mark Bailey.
8:12 in the morning on Mid-Columbia Today. Al Barton's here, Mid-Columbia Center for Living. Good morning, Al.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having us back.
Well, thanks for coming in. I wanted to have you on here as quickly as I could get you on because last Wednesday, Scott Hagee, Wasco County Commissioner, who I believe right now is on the MCCFL board since the untimely death of Phil Brady.
That's correct. Sad day.
Representing Wasco County. But nonetheless, he just mentioned during the course of the county commission meeting that MCCFL is in line to receive an $11 million grant, I believe it was, from Oregon Health Authority for a substance abuse treatment center. So where are we here? I mean, I assume Scott being on the board had very good information here, because this has been a long, winding road for this in various forms. This project. Where are we sitting right now? What's the latest?
Yeah. So he again. We do not have a signed agreement yet. We have a copy draft of what the agreement looks like, and it is from the Oregon Health Authority. It's actually 2 House bills. That total $11 million. They have relatively short timelines, so the clock is ticking. One, we have just over a year to expend, and the other one about 18 months. So, we really appreciate Oregon Health Authority and the governor's office. Governor's office is advocating because the state needs residential treatment beds, and so yes, when we looked at if we have to choose one, substance abuse treatment in terms of what the local need is. as well as the statewide need. The governor commissioned a study a couple of summers ago that found that they need 2,500 drug and alcohol beds statewide, that night. And so we feel like not only just locally, but there's a demand for people who need, what most people might call rehab. They need 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. And so we have some money, we have a vision, we have a good small team, we have connected with some developers, we've looked at some viable property, but there's still some twists and turns before it happens.
So maybe let's start out with differentiating this from other things we've talked about in the past. I mean, we of course spoke of the Resolution Center for so long,
right?
And eventually, frankly, federal regulations derailed that effort. That was a more multifaceted proposal, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, that was that model was, when we looked at, again, what does the governor's data say statewide is needed for care, and what do we need here locally? Because we've actually been characterized as a desert for residential treatment. In those days, we were going to build a facility for folks with mental health problems that could stay residential, kind of like a group home, not locked. We were going to build a crisis receiving center. This was, as you recall, Sheriff McGill was really the champion of most communities have a drop-off place for law enforcement. It's not a hospital. It's not a medical clinic. It's a safe space. You could walk in yourself. You can walk in with a family. So this crisis receiving center. Yes, and then we were going to build a couple office spaces, and then this drug and alcohol facility was in the mix as well. So now that's all withered away, and the only thing that's left is this drug and alcohol facility. And we feel like, based upon our original projections, we can get it done for that amount of money. So,
what does the $11 million cover? Is it for construction? Is it for operations? Is it an overriding amount of money?
It's almost all built construction. There's 2 months allowed, 2 months of operation. So we feel like it's gonna be about 7.5, maybe $8 million. Construction costs are kind of variable right now, but so we get 2 months to because you have to have a full team, right? You don't, and when you open the doors to the first person who comes in for care, you want the full team there. So you have to have it all spooled up and ready to go.
So if we're talking about here, basically construction plus a couple months of operations.
Yes.
I know the thing I think of right away is sustainability in this area. How does a facility like this get sustained? Where does the funding come from? Does it come from insurance of people who go into these centers? I mean, how does this all work?
Yes, yeah, and that's was really a lot of the preliminary effort we did. Is there one? We know there's a need and demand, so that's a good thing. We know there's folks, and then the vast majority of people are going to be Medicaid or the Oregon Health Plan here in Oregon, and that we know covers residential care. We know the rate. There's a set rate depending on how severe your problems are. There's a different rate, and even at the lowest rate, we feel like if we can, the plans are to build a 24-bed facility. We feel like at about between 17 and 18 beds, it will basically cover its costs. And then, you have to pay for all types of unanticipated things. But we feel like we feel like there's enough of a need and a demand, and we feel like that even at that conservative rate that we can make it pedal, and it'll perpetuate forward. And then we've talked to many colleagues. There's facilities, many parts of metropolitan and urban and rural places that do this, and so it can be done. There's we've got to pay people to work there. We got to pay for people to live there, so there's food and costs.
You mentioned the numbers from the state government.
Yeah.
The studies they've done show there is a demand, but I assume those were done on a statewide level.
They are.
Local demand. I mean, can you get to that 75%, which is basically where you're at? When you say 17 to 18, 75% occupancy. Can you get there in this area?
Just under our own roof, if we look at how many people, so basically the process is someone comes in for, just like you'd go see a doctor or dentist, and they say, I have a problem with drinking or I have a problem with drugs, and they do an assessment, and that assessment asks a number of questions and comes out the other end with a rating of how, what type of care this person needs. Some people just need some education. Some people need, office-based treatment a couple times a week. Some people need, the environment they're in, they can't stop drinking or using drugs. We found about 60 to 65 people a year just at Center for Living who we've assessed and said, wow, this person needs this level of care. And off they go to Redmond, or they go to Southern Oregon, or they go to Portland. So, the math, if people stay on, some people, leave after a couple hours. Some people stay 90 days. It really just depends. We think 60 people between 30 and 90 days.
So
you can get there.
Is 90 days kind of the standard cycle?
That's
treatment?
Pretty much the max. A lot of people,
max.
30 to 60 is probably, I'd say the
All right.
average length of stay is in the low 30s. I mean, just depends, of course.
Is part of the OHA's vision on this, and certainly the OHA, because they're providing the money, plays a role in what the vision is here. Is their vision, it's not just something that would be for the local Hood River, Wasco, Sherman County area, but is it the thought, it provides more beds? You mentioned locally here, they've been going to Redmond, Southern Oregon, wherever there's a bed available. Does the inverse hold true here on this?
Yeah, we would, we obviously, there's a lot of pluses if you can, from Hood River, do for the Dalles, Sherman County, you can, and then you get to see your family, you can see your dog. I mean, obviously, you get, those are incentives for people to stay in treatment. But yeah, obviously, it is a business on the other end. And if it's not full of local folks, then we would, open it up to, Eastern Oregon. We know there's a lot of people, and unfortunately one just closed in Baker City recently. So there's for a variety of reasons. We feel like there's demand. I mean, obviously you can't discriminate and say, you're from Medford, you can't come here. But, if the guy from Medford can't come for 2 or 3 days and, Al Barton can come this afternoon, we're going to fill it up. So.
Are you able to take in a facility like this? I know it's Oregon Health Authority paid for. But I always sit there and go, there are things that we sometimes can do here regionally, but that river and the border prevents it. Does this become available for the Washington side to use? I think of that especially when we talk about keeping it filled up so it's operating in the black and being able to serve the local residents also as it's needed.
Yes, theoretically, and oftentimes it's prudent to have a mixture of, like private insurance, Blue Cross or MODA or Aetna or those types of things. And so depending on their benefits, most facilities will predominantly, serve the Oregon Health Plan just because the need is so high. But then we'll mix in, some of those private insurance beds. And so private insurance, they theoretically could come from, wherever. But pretty much focused on Oregon Health just because those folks have less if I have other insurance, I could go to Washington, I can go to California.
Location for this, do you have one do you have one set up right now, or is that still in process?
It's still in we are zeroing, I don't want to jinx it or commit, but we have a really beautiful site in a similar kind of medical area, which, really fits in with a lot of people, when they hear drug and alcohol residential, maybe is like, I don't know, what sounds terrible. But, this is again, similar to like a rehabilitation facility for older adults or for kids or people with developmental disabilities. It's not, a locked facility. It's oftentimes, it's not, if folks are unhappy, they're just going to walk away and leave, right? It's not like you're housing hardened, dangerous criminals. And so, we have a neat site in the Dalles. We're going to build in Wasco County, of course. And we have a great site. So, I haven't outed it yet just because we're still in negotiations with the developers. But
well, I asked that because also that you mentioned OHA, this isn't officially approved yet, is it?
That's correct.
Okay. What's the process on that? Because I know we've been down this road where I've asked about a site on other things, and then the OHA does something and the whole thing goes off the rails.
Okay, so we have a verbal commitment. We've had a kickoff meeting with them. They've sent us drafts of the first two. These are, again, two agreements that total $11 million. It has the organization's name on it. We owe them a final budget, which, again, the twists and turns that happen behind the scenes, we've been trying to make it, we basically have to fit it into what we got. We don't, our organization doesn't have any extra money to contribute to this. We're not doing a capital so what we got is what we got. We can't do overruns. We can't do, and we've been pretty clear with the with our developer partners thus far, that's what we got. And so once we have that budget to Oregon Health Authority, we had to do a final. There's always a few, it's subject to things like prevailing wage, and so we had to make sure that would fit into it. There were a couple of other legal questions, so we're like, so close. But it goes back to the OHA, then there'd be a signing, then we could start to draw the funding down. on a quarterly basis, and then we'd be off to the races. And construction, the developers feel like they could start in the summer. So
I would say, do you have a design in place at this point? I mean, because you don't have a property yet. I guess I just think about all the other projects I've talked about on this show.
Yeah.
When we start getting governmental and we talk about, okay, now you got to get the plan, then you get the design.
Yeah.
It doesn't fit. I think you said, was it like you have a year to just use this money, or in that
one's
ballpark?
a year, one's the
Okay.
larger one's 18 months, and the smaller one's a year, which is tomorrow. Right?
Yeah, 12 to 18 months is not long when we talk about a project of this size, and we talk about all the hoops the government can bring into the process.
Yeah.
Is that enough time to do this?
The developers feel like they can get started in the summer. And, if we can expend the amount that's due in a year first, and then if we can, then we'll have some time until 2027 to do some completion. And obviously some of that other money we'll be able to use for operations.
Now, you do have a lot of plans stacked up from what I mentioned earlier, but all the ones. Say, are there things you can? There are things that you've already done in these efforts between the Resolution Center and some other efforts that you can pull from and time saving, and they're okay. This is usable for this project.
Yeah. And we and in fact the partnership we're working with already had plans for a space, and so the contingency plan right now is that almost like a sandwich that would be 3 layers tall, and we would, like as condominiumize, we would buy one of the middle slices, like the meat of the sandwich, and we would and then we would own that, and then they would develop it outright. Like they would build to own, and they would build to suit, and it's about 18,000 square feet. And so, the residential center doesn't occupy quite that big, but we would have some contingency we would sort of just dry it out and leave it like a shell, and use about 2/3 of it for the residential center, and then that would have, some future office space or rent some office space if needed. So,
well, I guess the other part of that also would be, we mentioned earlier, the Resolution Center, all the other things that you kind of wanted to do.
Yeah.
If you get this started, can this be a catalyst to? I think especially the Kreisig Intake Center. That Sheriff Lane McGill in Wasco County was a big proponent of that, and for good reason. I think probably all the law enforcement folks are, because we hear all from them about they get people into their jail intake at Norcor. That really it shouldn't be jail intake; it should be something else.
Yeah.
And Norcor is not equipped to handle them, but there's no place else to go. Could we see this be a catalyst for some other things?
We have not lost that vision whatsoever. In fact, Columbia County built a drug and alcohol facility with this, what they're called crisis receiving centers. Deschutes County has proven the concept, right? They've been doing it for 4 years. They have clear data that shows it diverts people from jails and hospitals. It's a cost-effective, taxpayer-saving trauma. And there's just too many pluses that, the biggest hurdle is today there's no way to fund them. So we could build it. Unlike this drug and alcohol residential, there's a revenue stream for it. There's no revenue stream. We've been working really hard. A lot of our counterparts, community mental health programs, have been pushing because, again, Deschutes County just put it together with grants and with savings from other areas. We've been really pushing the state that they need to develop a funding mechanism, because even if we build it, there would be we'd have to use revenue from other sources to subsidize it.
It comes back. I've always felt it's that you can build just about anything, but can you operate?
That's the key. And so that's the only barrier to that. In fact, we have a space that we've held on to for a number of places in the Dalles. We'd love to see it become that crisis receiving center. The challenge for us is, you can invite us on and talk about our budget complications. We're in some straits. We'll be okay, but it's going to be a challenge for sure. So there's just not a lot of other resources, to wash over and support something like that. And so, they built them in Benton County, they built them in Southern. Eventually, they're just going to be an expectation of our community. I think we'll look back and say, why didn't we have that 10 years ago? Because it doesn't solve every problems, but it really helps our hospitals. It really helps our law enforcement partners, and it just helps. It helps citizens. If I have somebody in distress, do I bring them to an emergency room? Do I call the police? Maybe I could just walk into this center that looks kind of like an office, and I could talk to somebody right away, at 2 a.m. or at 2 p.m., and we could get a disposition. So anyway, I get wound up about that.
Again, the Substance Abuse Treatment Center, let's kind of wrap this up here.
Yeah.
When do you expect we get out of the paperwork, nailing down the final details, guaranteeing the money's in place from OHA, how long do you think that is going to take? Because that really will start the clock then on getting it built.
Yeah, we need to have the agreement in July. I mean, that's my team's always like, Al, you're a little ambitious, but we are. I feel like we're pretty close with this budget. We could possibly happen next week. And the Oregon Health Authority, to their credit, is they are ready to roll. So once they have all the data that they need from us, and again, they're asking the same questions you are, Mark. Like, is this going to pencil? Is this how are you going to run this thing? So that once that would start, we would we would start to draw down money, and that would come construction. And the nice thing is, all the utilities facility, this is already a commercial spot. It doesn't need a bunch of water, sewer, power, all those stuff. It's ready to go in that capacity. So it'd be and now the developers are very eager to proceed. So I would love to see the sort of administrative paperworky stuff in July, and it'd be great to start to break ground at August. Pretty ambitious, but let's go.
8:30 in the morning. Al Barton from Mid-Columbia Center for Living Executive Director. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thanks as always, Mark. Appreciate your support.
And we'll come back and take a look at the news and continue along on MCT right after this.
Dreaming of a better sleep? Downey Sleep Center is making it easier than ever with big savings right now. Get a Sealy Posturepedic King mattress for the price of a queen, and a queen for the price of a twin. Your choice of feel, so get what your body needs. That's bigger comfort, bigger savings, and better sleep for less. Now's the time to replace that old saggy mattress. Get a Sealy Posturepedic King for the price of a queen, and queen for the price of a twin. Sleep better and save big today at Downey Sleep Center. Locally owned in the Dalles and in Hood River.
Smiles have started here for more than 20 years. Hood River Dental is proud to grow with our Gorge community. We provide complete dental care for children and adults, general, cosmetic, Invisalign, core whitening, and advanced treatments for TMJ and airway management. Haven't had a checkup in a while? Concerned about snoring or jaw pain? We're here to help. Find us across from Jackson Park on May Street or on Belmont in Hood River. Hood River Dental, family owned. Your comfort is our priority every step of the way.
Coffee for Mid-Columbia Today guests is provided by Hood River Coffee Roasters, the Gorge's local coffee roasters, on Tucker Road on the Heights in Hood River.
$8:33 in the morning on Mid-Columbia Today. Taking a check of the news, the Dalles City Council approved a $364,223 change order for the First Street project after finding a 100-year-old clay sewer main line near First and Court that made it impossible to place heavy machinery at the location for necessary work. Community Development Director Joshua Chandler says the location is one of the most complex in the project due to the old sewer pipe, elevated sidewalk structure, underground vault areas, and the proximity of the Baldwin Saloon. Chandler knowing the line is one of the two primary sewer lines in the Dalles. Even with the added expense, the project remains just over $780,000 over or under budget. The big impact may be extending the length of the project, with the council also approving a 73-day contract extension for project contractor Ajax Engineering, pushing the completion date to July 13th, 2027. Warming temperatures at the equator could paradoxically bring the Northwest a wet fall and high winter snowpack. That's according to climatologist. Oregon State climatologist Larry O'Neill says the West could be in for one of the strongest El Niños that we have had. During a super El Nino, of which there were only 3 since 1980, it brings greater rain and mountain snowpack. However, O'Neill cautioned recent El Nino events and its counterpart La Nina, typically associated with colder temperatures and snow, have become far more unpredictable under rising global temperatures. A former Montana Public Service Commissioner will be the next to lead the federal government's nonprofit Northwest Power Marketer. Travis Cavallo will be the next chief executive and administrator of the Bonneville Power Administration. He has, since being on the Public Service Commission in Montana, worked for the California Independent System Operator and did a short stint at think tank R Street Institute. He's been a vice president at NRG Energy for the last 7 years. He'll go on to the job June 29th. And we want to remind everybody in White Salmon again that the city of White Salmon is performing a water system tie-in today as part of its transmission main replacement project, and they're asking municipal water customers to significantly reduce use while it takes place. They need to maintain adequate system pressure. So you're asked in White Salmon to avoid lawn and landscape irrigation, washing vehicles, filling pools, hot tubs, or water features, power washing, and any other non-essential water use today until 6 o'clock in the evening. Current temperatures in our area. It is 69 in Stevenson, 73 in the Dalles, 71 in Hood River, and it's 8:35 in the morning.
For any type of metal fabrication, machining, or repair, see Schlosser Machine Shop on Tucker Road in Hood River. Structural steel, stainless steel, aluminum, field, and on-site welding. If it's metal, Schlosser Machine can build it or fix it. Schlosser Machine. High precision machining since 1988.
Whether it's home, auto, business, or life insurance, be sure to see the people at Columbia River Insurance. With access to over 80 different carriers, their relationships have been built carefully and strategically for the Gorge. Columbia River Insurance, locally based, experienced, and insuring the Gorge since 1925.
Hi, this is Zach from Del Carpine Automotive. We're so excited to operate in our new location, just a stone's throw away from our old shop. A family-run business since 2003, Del Carpine continues to provide exceptional auto repair service for both foreign and domestic vehicles, even Sprinter vans. From simple oil changes to complex engine restorations, our experienced team is here to keep you safely on the road. Visit us at our great new location or give us a call at 541-386-3133. Del Carpine Automotive, family-owned and locally trusted.
Mid-Columbia Today is a public affairs program of Bicoastal Media Columbia River, 98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR and GorgeRadio.com. Now, back to Mark Bailey.
And it is 8:39 in the morning in Mid-Columbia Today. We're happy to have with us now in the studio from Washington Gorge Action Programs, Executive Director Julie Hester, and the Food Bank Manager, which is Janelle Boreen. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you for being with us. And Julie, you got a big fundraiser coming up in August. This has been an annual event for WAGAP now for a few years anyway. Tell us about what you got planned.
So our fundraiser, you're right, I believe we're on our 8th or 9th year.
Yeah.
We are hosting it at Annie Chase Cellars. They've been a huge supporter of ours for many, many years. They help with hosting and with getting sponsors and with getting other wineries to donate. And this year we're thematically, we're celebrating our Indigenous and Latino communities. And so you'll see that in the food, you'll see that in some of the
artwork, the music.
Yeah. And then some of the, like the raffle items as well.
So I believe you mentioned music. I do not know how to pronounce the name of the person who will be singing there, so I will not try to butcher it. I'll let you guys do it.
I will try to not butcher her name.
Oh, okay, yes. Yeah.
Her name is Isabeau Weayu Walker, and she is a Indigenous artist who lives in Portland now. I've actually seen her live before, and she'll have a full band with 4 other artists playing with her.
So this benefits, Janelle, your operation, the Food Bank Network for WAGAP. How big is that network these days?
So the network is the 2 counties of Klickitat and Skamania. So it's all the way out to as far as Roosevelt and Bickleton, up into the hills for Glenwood and Trout Lake, and then all the way down to like North Bonneville.
So, and you have the mobile food bank.
We have the mobile food bank, and that's the one that goes high up in the hills and out the longest distance. And then we have the 4 brick and mortar food banks. We have the one up in Goldendale, tucked up in the hills for Klickitat, Bingen, and then all the way out in Stevenson.
How many do you serve these days?
We're serving about 900 families a year.
Klickitat and Skamania.
Yeah, between Klickitat and Skamania. And oh my goodness, statistics, that's my favorite. So that is many more people. Individuals is probably closer to 1,500 individuals. And they come in once a month for a regular food box, and that includes everything from your dry staple stuff to your produce and your proteins.
I'd be curious, do you find, does the clientele stay fairly stable, or is it somewhat transitory?
We have times a year that it increases, especially in summertime because people are more mobile. And then it'll drop a little bit during the wintertime, except for around the holidays when everybody needs to stock up for family visits. But it stays pretty steady. We had a huge decline during COVID because people didn't want to go out. But then since then, they've been coming back out. And we just try to create an environment so that when people come in, they can, it's more of a social thing as well, and a way to
to communicate with others and not being just at your home.
Keeping things stocked up, and you mentioned to me off the air that there's two areas that are challenging right now, and they didn't surprise me particularly.
It does surprise me a little bit for the area that we live in. So produce is something that we are now hurting for, and not just we do have our wonderful donors who grow a lot of things and products in their backyard gardens, and we have our donors that grow for a living. But in years past, the last 6 years, I've been able to spend government dollars to enhance the capability of having that produce into our food banks. And this is the first year that major funding has gone away. They changed it into a funding source that won't benefit us. Just basically, we could have received funds to do packaging and stuff like that, but the funds that we would have to match aren't there. So for us, it's we're generally looking for funds to purchase the produce so that we can keep our families from having to go to the grocery store for that part, at least, as well as the proteins.
But when you say packaging, I'm trying to figure out with produce, they wanted you to pack this stuff?
So basically they were saying if you had received produce that was fresh, it had to be donated. We couldn't purchase it with government dollars. And we could pay for it to be packaged in a different source. So if I was donated 100 pounds of apples, I could make applesauce and pay for the process. That's where the funding went.
I could comment for an hour on how ridiculous that is, but I'm gonna not do it because I want to make sure we talk about the event again here a little bit. But produce was one part of it, and then you mentioned proteins is the other
proteins. So for the last 6 months at least, I've had to buy protein in addition to what I receive from USDA and Northwest Harvest. Those are my two larger. USDA is my largest, and Northwest Harvest brings me a lot of food that is at no cost to us. They're a nonprofit for the state of Washington.
Now, when you say proteins, are we talking about? You say, I think you told me you prefer frozen.
I like it fresh or frozen. Okay. We do give it out frozen so that it has a longer lifetime on it. We do receive some canned products, but I would prefer that we have both. And canned products are easier for USDA to give us for some reason. At this point, that tide might turn again, and we'll get more frozen products from them in the future. But frozen meats cost money, and so we have been buying a lot of it from A&J Market in Stevenson because the crew there, they're just wonderful, and they give us a nice discount.
On the protein side, I mean, you mentioned the produce, the government funding situation is a lot to do with what you're dealing with. On the protein side, is it a government funding situation, or is it a demand situation here?
It's because the government funding does not go more towards the proteins so that they decide at a statewide level how we're going to spend the funds. We do all have a weigh-in on it, but a lot of the people around the state prefer to go through other sources like canned meats. Okay,
and you guys are trying to stick on the fresh, the fresh or I guess I put frozen somewhat with fresh.
Yeah, fresh and frozen
because it's. You have there's storage issues. I can understand the canned side too. I mean, canned, they're shelf stable. They can last longer for people.
And we buy both.
Supply overall. I remember we've talked the last couple of years when you've been here or others from Waugh Gap. We've talked about. I know a couple of years ago you lost one source that's been coming out here from Eastern Washington. That source went away. Oregon, here, of course, we have the Oregon Food Bank system. I take it's not quite that way in Washington.
No, it's not quite that way.
Not close at all, based on your reaction.
Well, it's got its pros and cons.
Sure.
Pros with the Oregon Food Bank is that it's all centrally located and and across the board, it is the same in every nook and cranny of the state of Oregon. In Washington, there's America's Second Harvest. Second Harvest is the one that we lost out on. They revamped how they were distributing food, and a number of parts of the states no longer receives food from them. But we do still have Northwest Harvest, which Northwest Harvest is not only our transportation for USDA foods, but they also donate a lot of foods to us as possible. They're going through a little bit of changes right now, and that we might see an increase on food again, but for the last couple of years, we've seen just a decrease.
Where right now are you projecting funding going from the non-local sources here? We'll get back to the fundraiser here in a second, but this kind of established why you have to do this in the first place. Where do you see this going right now?
Well, so we definitely have the funds to operate, and that is wonderful. The fundraising and the grant writing that I get to do is privileged. Is all for the extras that we like to put in the box. We receive funds from United Way, which is wonderful because I can still use part of that money for the fresh food. I can use part of that money for the frozen. But I definitely spend a majority of it on the shelf-stable food that goes into our regular food boxes. Because we have to have... I won't give out a food box that is not at least going to last 5 to 7 days.
Sure. I take it one of the reasons, I've talked about this before with others in this sort of thing, the importance for the fresh and the frozen is it's usually just healthier than the processed canned foods. It is.
And it's also the relationship that we have with our growers. I spent years working with our growers on both sides of the river. They're all wonderful. And for the last 5 years, I've had funds that they knew were coming. They knew that a portion of their sales was going to come from the WAGAP food banks. And now I have to look to them and say, okay, I still want food from you. I can buy less. And then if they want to donate, that's great, but I can't expect it.
Which lends us to the fundraiser, obviously. Here we circle back here to August 14th. Anna Shea Sellers. I can never remember how to pronounce their name correctly. So
Aniche.
Aniche. That one eludes me for some reason. But anyway, how much of her budget comes from something like this? I mean, I would imagine this is a fairly important part of, basically, if we're trying for the fresh and frozen goal. How important is it?
As far as the fundraising at this event? Well, to what Janelle was saying, it allows her team to fill in those blank spots in the boxes. And those blank spots can be because what we received from, on the trucks from USDA. We noticed that for our community, there's blank spots in it. There's foods that we know our community likes, and that gives her team the opportunity to fill in those blank spots and have just overall boxes that are balanced in a way for families to be able to make full meals. So it's, each one of our grant funding streams has its limitations, and anytime we can get these funds that they're called discretionary funds, we don't have a lot of limitations on what we do with them. It really allows us to tailor our services specifically for what our community needs.
Friday, August 14th, 4:30 is when this is going to be. This is one of those fundraisers. It's kind of limited tickets. There's a capacity.
There is a capacity limit. We're hoping to sell at least 75, but once we get any higher than that, it can get a little.
But I think it's $150.
That's
per person. So if someone would like to go to this, obviously with a limited amount, there is a bit of an urgency there, even though we're still a couple months out. But they will go quickly. How do people buy their tickets?
You can get a link to our tickets either at our website at wallgap.org. There's a banner across the very top that you can click on. And then all of our socials will have a link to the event, so you can go straight to buy a ticket.
So again, August 14th, it's the Food for All Food Bank fundraiser in Underwood. Oh boy, I just cannot remember their pronunciation. Anna Shea Sellers.
So it's Ani and Che, sister
Ani
and brother.
Okay, Ani Che. Ani Che Sellers in Underwood is where they'll be. Friday, August 14th, and again, 4:30 is when it starts. It runs into the evening, obviously.
Yes.
And it's local wine, food, and art, and there'll be music. And again, it's a fundraiser for the Washington Gorge Action Program as a food bank program. Julie, Janelle, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It is 8:53 in the morning. We'll wrap things up right after this.
You've created a cool indoor retreat. Now let Carrier provide the quiet, efficient cooling you can depend on all summer with a range of innovative cooling solutions that deliver premium comfort and energy savings. Your local Carrier dealer, Oregon Equipment, looks forward to keeping you comfortable while saving you money throughout the year. Yep, they've been servicing our community since 1946. Living local, shopping local, and supporting local. OregonEquipment.com. Carrier, for the world we share.
Eastside Paving has a local team of professional paving experts ready to handle any size job for you. Eastside Paving's 35 years of experience provides the knowledge, procedures, and resources to ensure the job is done correct. Licensed, bonded, and insured in Oregon and Washington, Eastside Paving specializes in industrial, commercial, and residential jobs. Whether it's overlay, parking lots, private roads, patching, or driveway resurfacing, Eastside Paving has you covered. Call Rick Saran today for a free estimate. 503-519-6478. EastsidePaving.com. CCB 68962.
I am Heidi Hedlund, the quality manager at Skyline. I'm able to participate in all the patient care processes that are important, like what prevents patient falls from happening, what prevents patient infections from happening. Those type of things happen very rarely here at Skyline, I am happy to say. Skyline's a great place to stay if your family member is sick or if you get sick, because quality is a foundational aspect of Skyline Health. I am Skyline.
Tune in weekday mornings at 8:05 and keep up with community events and issues with the Mid-Columbia Today Show on Mid-Columbia's news leaders, 98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR. Special thanks to our sponsors, Skyline Hospital, Eastside Paving, and Del Carpine Automotive.
8:56 in the morning on Mid-Columbia Today. I decided to refrain from... I just find it amazing the things that government, when they decide to cut things, there'll be things I'll think of to cut, and those stay alive forever. And then a program that, just simply gets food to people who need it, provides revenue for people who grow it, local growers who then can pump that money back into the economy of the local area. And that's what gets derailed. I just find that astounding. Utterly astounding. I'm not going to go too deep into that because I wasn't going to get that political on it, but I find that astounding. I think that's what irritates people a lot. I will also throw in, I was listening to the commercials after the soccer update because I'm more interested in them than the soccer, apparently. And I was also talking to our guest, but I noticed it was another one of those Liberty Mutual, the EMU ads. When did we decide insurance companies, for their advertising, we're going to have long-running series? The EMU thing has been going on forever. Doug, the 70s TV cop stereotype. I guess 80s, too. But you've got, the Gecko has been around for goodness gracious forever. And then Progressive, those people make entire careers out of this now. I want to call them the Progressive Mighty Art Players or something. The Mighty Progressive Art Players. Why? I mean, how? I mean, what focus groups are saying that this is this good? Let them run for this long. Sorry, I'm in one of those moods today, apparently. I need a vacation. Luckily, I've scheduled them now. I've scheduled my time off for this summer. So I'll give myself a break and give you a break as well. Tomorrow, Genevieve Scholl, one of my favorites from Port of Cascade Locks, will be here. They've got their 4th of July stuff coming up. We talked about Hood River and white salmon. We'll talk Cascade Locks now. Schedule to talk Columbia Gorge Community College in some fashion as well tomorrow. I have run way over time, so I'm going to stop now. For Cameron Eisenberg, I'm Mark Bailey. Talk to you again on Thursday.
Columbia Today Show is a public affairs presentation of Bicoastal Media Columbia River. The views expressed on the program are not necessarily those of the station, parent company, or of the sponsors. We welcome your suggestions for future shows. Call us at 541-386-1511. Listen to Mid-Columbia Today where you want. Follow or subscribe to Mid-Columbia Today wherever you download your podcast to get the show delivered every day to your mobile device.